Let me start with a number. The number 70. 7-0. In a weekend full of good old-fashioned butt kickings.
Good old-fashioned butt kicking.
We'll get to the Buffs a little bit later on. But in a weekend full of good old-fashioned butt kickings.
Good old-fashioned butt kicking.
We may have just seen the all-time ass beating in the NFL. A freaking 70 burger in Miami. A 70-piece in South Beach. 70 points in an NFL game. I mean, of all the dramatic things I have ever seen.
Of all the dramatic things I've ever seen.
Or as my dude Pat Tillman famously said on this show once, that was a nice, swift ass kicking.
Nice, swift ass kicking.
Seriously, though, I have never seen anything like that in the NFL. You know why? Because nobody has ever seen anything like that in the NFL. Not since at least 1966. Because nobody has scored 70 points in a game since 1966. And the best part about that, people are pissed at Mike McDaniel for kneeling it out and not going for the NFL record 73. The dude just hung 70 on the Broncos. And for some people, that was still not enough. Even funnier than that is Mike McDaniel and Tua both basically saying after the game that they were not trying to humiliate anybody. Yeah, well, that ship sailed somewhere around the middle of the second quarter yesterday. Miami thoroughly humiliated Denver. So thoroughly that humiliated doesn't even seem like a humiliating enough word to describe that carnage. Tua had more tutties than incomplete passes. Can I repeat that? He had more tutties than incomplete passes. They gained 726 yards and didn't even have Jalen Waddle. They averaged more than 10 yards a play, which of course means that every time they touch the ball, they got a first down. No team has ever scored 70 on at least 700 total yards until yesterday. So what happened yesterday wasn't just an ass beating. It was a historic ass beating. A historic ass beating of epic proportions. It was one of the worst ass beatings anybody has ever witnessed in any pro sport. And that's not hyperbole, and that's not lava. That's real. That's a fact. The Dolphins scored more points yesterday than the Broncos have all season. And the Broncos season is already circling the drain. Could it be any worse or going any worse for Sean Payton right now? It's almost like you could call it, quote, one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. End of quote. Of course, those are not my words. Those are not my words, and you know who they belong to. Sean Payton himself. And they have come back to bite him right in the ass. And to be more specific, they were Sean Payton's words about his predecessor. And as bad as Nate Can't Hack It was. That song's not appropriate. You got the wrong Nate. Nate Can't Hack It. As bad as he was, I think Bronco fan would tell you this is even worse right now. I mean, I can say this for Can't Hack It. Nobody ever hung 70 on that dude. Nobody even ever hung 70 on that pancake flipping, hot take talking head that somehow found himself coaching the Colts last season. Hell, ready for this? Nobody ever even hung 70 on Pervin Liar in Duval. How do you feel about this game being historically embarrassing? Is a pretty harsh question. But that's the kind of question you're going to get when somebody hangs 70 on you. Unfortunately, you can't really next question a 70 burger, can
Next
you?
question.
Here's
Next
the thing.
question.
It's not like this was ever going to be an easy job for Sean Payton. And he's not making it look easy either. He's making it look incredibly hard. And when you blow in and you swerve way out of your lane to set your predecessor on fire, and then you start 0-3 and you give up 70 in Miami, that is an epic disaster. And you are going to be asked, how does it feel to be a part of such an epic beatdown? After the game, Garrett Bowles spoke for, I think, essentially every single Bronco fan and every single Bronco player in the sense of how tired they are of all this crap. Yeah, I bet. Can you imagine the commitment you pay or make physically and psychologically, and other than a paycheck, you really have nothing to show for it? Goes to show that while some of these guys might just be in it for the life, might just be in it for the pay, not everybody, not a lot of them. Does that guy sound like a paycheck is making him feel any better? I mean, that sounded like rock bottom. Not sure at this point how things can possibly get any more miserable for Bronco player or Bronco fan, but they could, and it looks like we might just find out. It looks like it could get a lot worse before it gets any better, but that was rock bottom. 720 plus yards. Insane. Now, not to make a totally cringe pivot and transition, but speaking of ugly, how about Mike McCarthy and them Cowboys? They should be thanking Denver for the cover right now, because if not for that debacle, the number one question we'd all be asking right now is, the hell was that Dallas? You can imagine what the open would be like if not for that other game. In fact, that is still the question. The hell was that, Dallas? The hell was that, big fella? I mean, Trayvon Diggs is good. Really good. But he's not that good. And I'm not taking anything away from Arizona. In fact, I'm here to praise Arizona. But remember when the Cardinals were allegedly losing on purpose? And remember when the Cowboys were supposedly the scariest team in the NFL with a historic defense? Remember all that? Yet neither do I. Cardinal fan, how do I put this? Buckle up. It's time to get excited. Buckle
What's
up.
Bird Gang?
Because
Buckle
the Cardinals clearly rode the bus to work yesterday. Pew, pew, pew. I mean, seriously, though. Jonathan shot out of a cannon. Jonathan shot out of a cannon. Gannon. He's taken a lot of flack since he took that job. And in some cases, it's been totally justified. Totally justified. It's the Tourette's, man. I'm telling you. But I'm telling you also, this guy deserves some bleeping credit. For real.
For real.
Shot out of a cannon. Gannon's dudes are fighting their asses off so far this year. They could honestly be 3-0. They should honestly be 2-1.
We're going to have some fun.
But one thing they clearly are not is losing on purpose. Ask Dak Prescott. Ask the big fella, Mike McCarthy. Dak was a disaster, and the rest of the team was barely even better. They still can't do jack in the red zone. They still can't stop the run. So you can go ahead and stop comparing them to the 2013 Seahawks. That so-called historic defense got absolutely worked by Joshua Dobbs. Joshua Dobbs, who was brought in like 17 days before the start of the year. The Cowboys essentially no-showed for that game. In fact, there's no essentially about it. They didn't show up for that game, and they clearly were not prepared. They were hideous. And I'm not sure any team, I mean, that was bad. That was really bad. I love these teams providing cover for each other. You know how much worse that'd be for them? As ill-prepared as they were, as painful as that was it any more painful than watching the Coug Hunter and the Jets yet again? I mean, this dude is setting the entire quarterback position back years. In fact, the Coug Hunter is setting the entire game of football back years. And yes, I am well aware of the elements. I am well aware that it was windy as hell and rainy as hell out there.
It's windy as hell out there too, guys.
And rainy as hell. I know the weather sucked. And I know that they don't even know how to paint the field at MetLife properly. And I know the Hoodman's a pain in the ass. But Zach, my dude, every time you take the field, it looks like it's the first time you've ever taken the field. It looks like the first time you've ever played the game. How is it even possible that you just spent an entire offseason with Aaron Rodgers and somehow came back worse? That's 15 straight losses to New England. And yesterday might have been the most infuriating one of all. The Coug Hunter actually managed to sack himself in this game. I don't know if he saw ghosts. I don't know if it was just a phantom sack, but he did sack himself. I mean, who gets credit for that sack? Him?
Seen ghosts.
Even Broadway Joe could not take all the struggling. My man with Broadway Joe was out here on the X slinging lava the entire game. And not even just at the Coug Hunter, but also with the coaches and the front office too. This team was thinking Super Bowl 3 weeks ago. All the hype, all the good vibes. And yet here we are, not even into October yet. And Joe Namath is talking about replacing the QB, the head coach, and the GM. I mean, from 0 to Jets in 2 seconds flat. Clearly, Joe has lost all faith in Zach Wilson. I think the entire rest of humanity outside of the Jets locker room, and actually probably part of the inside of the locker room, have also lost all faith in Zach Wilson. I'm not even sure that I believe Garrett Wilson when Garrett Wilson says that he still has confidence in Zachary. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.